So, welcome to Unfuck Your Mind. Today, we are diving into real life shit. And we're still going to challenge the way you think. So, we invite you to grab an open mind. And no matter what we're going through, we always find a way to have a sense of humor and, bring your curiosity. So, we are here to share our personal experiences and perspectives. We're not here to preach, there's no perfect answers. Daniel and I are just two perfectly imperfect humans exploring life's messy, beautiful, and sometimes downright today shitty truths. Not even awkward. I mean, it could get awkward, but so we're not here to tell you how to live your life. We're here to spark curiosity, offer support, help you with mindset shifts, and maybe even, you know, give you today would be a reality check or a good laugh. Our goal is to create a space where all ideas are welcome, even the uncomfortable ones, to offer support to those who might feel isolated or unsure about their life adventure. We respect everyone's unique journey and ask the same in return. So let's keep it curious and kind and talk about some real shit today. So here's the truth. This is just a hodgepodge full of shit. That's what it is today because it is Wednesday. Well, I think it's 1 o'clock your time, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost noon my time, and we record on Mondays. But Miss Jamie over here has been sick since last week, Tuesday night, and I am still not better. And Mr. Daniel is always super patient. Actually, we usually do accommodate each other. I do remember a time where Daniel didn't know if he was going to be able to record. And I'm like, dude, if I have to do it on my own, I will. I got you covered. And he still found a way to show up. And this was my turn. And he's like, you know what? If I have to drop in an old episode or record on my own, he's like, I got you covered. He goes, I'll wait till Wednesday morning. And I'm like, you know what? This is the area where I'm really fucking thankful because we're both professionals, right? And when you're a professional, well, we're not, but we are. Don't look at me that way. We're real professionals, I guess. I don't know.
It's funny because when you were making that little disclaimer at the beginning about, we're not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm sitting there thinking, we're not here to tell you that, but can somebody tell me how to do that?
Right. Oh my gosh. But oh, can you remind me where I was at? I'm not thinking clearly.
Oh man, sorry.
No, it's okay. No worries. We got it. Either way, I just don't want to leave the listeners
Huh?
hanging. Like, what was she gonna say? Either way, we always end up having our each other's back. And I thought, well, oh, I know. We literally decided to do this podcast to be real. So I'm like, why don't I just show up sick and all? I mean, last week I would not have been able to show up like this, like with where I was last week. Now I'm a little bit better, but I'm like, yeah, let's just show up, talk about, ironically, Daniel had his worst night of truck driving last night, so we can cover bits on that. And I think it's important to talk about when you're sick, you know? Like, I'm not gonna lie, man, this has been tough, not just the being sick part, but the guilt, the feeling like every moment that passes, the weight of everything I'm getting behind on just keeps overloading and overloading even more. Having to, push my clients off even further, and then like I reschedule them, and then I'm like, I thought I'd be better by now. I had a really I had a woman's event on last Saturday. I was looking forward to that, getting together with a group of beautiful women and doing toe reading and hypnosis and the coaching. And oh my gosh, of course then I had to cancel. Ah, crushed me. We do have it rescheduled, but just navigating all of the things and not having any energy. I did wash my hair today. I washed my hair. I washed all the sick out of it. And
Looks
that
great.
kicked my that kicked my ass. I'm like, oh my gosh, my hair is hard work. So then I had to take a nap before we did this so I could actually function.
Well, it does. I mean, like it looks great. Like her hair looks all nice and shiny and it's all straight and just, it's like, no, it's no.
Well, I will confess, I was just gonna throw it up into a wet bun, messy thing. I didn't freaking care. And then I thought, well, I'm gonna sit there and be cold, and I'm already sick because I have wet hair. So I dried it.
It's interesting though, isn't it? And tell me if this is true or not, but sometimes like, and I've noticed for myself, is that when things are kind of going to shit around you, right? Sometimes just doing that one little thing that feels like you've accomplished something does kind of make that a little bit, I don't know, for me it makes it a little less shitty. You know what I mean? Like, that makes
Yeah, it's
sense.
funny. No, it
Like that.
does because I was actually gonna go there because I was thinking about what things can I share about this experience because like today would be like well day 7 but tonight will be night 8 because it was like a Tuesday night when I just came home from my group meditation and I just felt like I hit a brick wall and I was like I'm just tired. Yeah, guess again. But being down for this long, it's really important to find little tiny wins where you can feel like you've accomplished something because honestly, my mental health is it's taking a toll on my mental health, like really bad. I've spent a lot of time alone. Everybody's busy doing things and there I sit with being sick and it came to a point where it's like, oh my God, I need another human to boost me up because I'm feeling really mentally not okay. It's like, okay, what can you do for yourself, Jamie, to help you, you know? And it could be something so simple like one day I took a bath. I'm like, you took a bath and, in Epsom salt to relieve some of the aches and pains. Somebody might be like, well, why would you celebrate that? Oh my gosh, because when you're this sick, that takes a lot of effort to run the bath water by yourself
Exactly.
to
Yeah.
actually take your clothes off and get in the bathtub and then think about getting out and getting dressed. Oh my gosh, it just sounds so simple. These are the simple things in everyday life we take for granted until like our asses are kicked because we can't do them properly,
Well,
you know.
I don't know if you remember, about last year when I had gotten hand, foot, mouth disease from my youngest daughter.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? Now, in kids, obviously, hand, foot, mouth doesn't affect them near as bad. Although she had a pretty good bout of it, but I got it from her. Man, I mean, I was just covered in those red sore spots. I mean, I looked like a leper
That
straight out of
was
biblical times.
rough. And I thought that interesting because usually adults don't get that. Usually
Right.
it's
They
just
don't.
really rare.
That's what they said. What the doctor told me. She was like, it's super rare for adults to be able to contract this. So, but um, I had to miss a whole week of work for that. First time ever I've had to miss a whole week of truck driving that I know of for being sick. I had never done that in the pretty much 9 years previous to that because I'm working on 10 years of truck driving this year. But it was much that same thing because like it was on my palms and it was on my feet and so I couldn't really walk around. I couldn't hold anything. But there was those little moments of even doing something like that, like taking a shower, or going to the bathroom. Even was like a chore and it was a task, and being able to eat because I had it in my mouth, on the roof of my mouth, my tongue, I mean, it was just, good Lord, it was awful. But it was all those little things, and there were times where and I was struggling because I mean, like I said, I'm just not that kind of person to just sit there and be sick, but but
It's rough.
those little things, like, I remember thinking at some point, just doing few of these things were like kind of energizing for me. And it was, well, at least I accomplished this and I pushed through this. Whether it was just getting up and going to the kitchen to get a drink of water or something, anything. And it was, so yeah, that's what kind of that's where I was at when you were talking about that. So sometimes just celebrating those menial, small little tasks that we do every day without thinking about it, and then celebrating them in these kind of moments. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to like catch the things that you say to yourself too when you're down and out, no matter what you have. When like if it's an illness, like, you know, what I have, um, or, you know, like what Daniel had, or for whatever reason you're compromised, pay attention to what you're saying to yourself, man. I caught myself like I had a lot of tears this time around. I'm pretty strong. I mean, I've had four babies, I've had brain surgery, you know, I've had other minor surgeries, one other major surgery, and I'm a tough cookie. I am. But man, did the tears fricking roll with this one. Um, and I thought to myself, like, how can I switch this? Like I'm beating myself up for crying when I'm really having a human experience. Like it's okay to cry. Crying isn't bad. I don't know why we always think it's so bad. And then I would think about like I would actually give myself permission, Jamie, it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel how you're feeling. It's okay to just be patient with yourself because the truth is like the more we cause a friction in a negative way, it gives more resistance for our body, you know, to prevent it from healing, if that makes sense. So it's like, what if you just embrace the suck? But I will tell you, every day, like when I got sick, it was Tuesday night, and I was like, okay, I have that event with all those beautiful ladies on Saturday. I'll be better by then. I know I will be. I know I will be. And I'm like, okay. So Thursday came rolling around. And I'm like, this shit's getting worse. This shit's getting worse. And I started beating myself up. But like saying, like, for how many days in a row, tomorrow's going to be better. And now here I am. It's Wednesday. I'm finally kind of eating like sort of good food. I'm just like, okay, at this point, any moment of feeling better is good. But um yeah, getting into that depressive state when you're down and out happens real easy. It's important to catch that and talk nice to yourself. Like I won't lie, like I even had to reach out and ask people for help. Like, hey, I just need to hear some good things and stuff like that because ooh, do that. Reach out, ask for help.
For real. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it's those little things that make such a huge difference. But hey, guess what? I did something I don't do. I don't go to the doctor for anything ever. Never. I just
Yeah.
don't.
I seen your Facebook post. I'm like, oh man, she's got to be pretty rough to be
Well,
going to the doctor. I seen it, I was like, because I know you don't. And I'm just like,
I have a lot of homeopathic remedies and I'm pretty handy at taking care of myself. But my youngest daughter looked at me and she's like, Mom, this doesn't look normal. You need to go in. I'm like, oh. And then I started thinking, you know, so take this from somebody that's really stubborn with going to the doctor. It's important to find that healthy balance because the truth is, so I did test positive for influenza A, which I did find out mimics pneumonia. So they have the same exact symptoms. So what if I would have had pneumonia and I was too stubborn to go in? And then what? End up in the hospital? Prolong everything even more?
mm-hmm. Yeah, pneumonia, no,
So,
ain't no joke.
right. So it's really about stepping forward. Like I had to step out of my stubbornness and into considering, you know, really what my youngest daughter, which she's 17, you know, what she said. And well, I got to think about her too and my other kids. Well, how's that going to help anyone if I end up in the hospital?
Wait,
So I'm like,
did you say you're stubborn? Would have would have never guessed that.
no, never. I guess this is the humorous part. So
Some
I did. I went
sometimes
in.
sometimes you gotta laugh at your own shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I laugh at my shit. I'm not afraid to
I
laugh
mean,
at
sometimes
myself.
you do, man. Like sometimes I'll Yeah, even like I was talking about the hand, foot, mouth disease and stuff like that. And there were times where it was just like I just started laughing myself, like, good Lord, I'm like 2 steps away from a vegetable. You know what I mean? I couldn't hold nothing. I couldn't even walk on my feet because everything was so. I mean, I was just like, what is this, man? Like,
Why? I have a question. Like, why would you say two steps away from a vegetable? Like, oh, just like kind of existing. My brain's not connecting. I'm not
yeah,
feeling
yeah,
good. So
like
this is
because I
the
couldn't,
part where
because I couldn't do anything, like I was just sitting there like a invalid.
all of my cylinders are currently not firing
Yeah, I
properly.
can tell.
Please
They're like,
be patient.
yeah, she needs a software update.
Oh my God. That was good. I need a software update. Oh yeah. So I was like, whatever. You said something right before we hopped on. I'm like, I'm gonna say that in the podcast. I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty cool. Either way, you had a rough night at work. So I'm like, Daniel hops on, I hop on, and he literally just woke up to record before he goes back into work.
Literally.
Yeah, I could tell. And then I feel bad and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, Daniel, so much for being patient with me and accommodating. But then I'm like, did you get enough sleep? Because I'm over here feeling a little guilty. And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how come?
Well, I mean,
And he's like,
it was like the literally the longest night I've had since I started working at the local driving position in August. This is the longest night I've had since then because I work overnight shift now. So this is the longest night I've had. And I'm thinking of all the freaking days for um and yeah, it's when I'm like this, when I'm super tired, especially when it's for a reason that I don't like, because the the work reason was, let me just say, avoidable on their part. um, but I'll have a tendency to want to how can I say this? Act out on my emotions, specifically emotion of irritated, frustrated, anger, Hulk smash, turn green, all the things. So,
in the minute you said that, I just picture you turning into the Hulk, your shirt ripping off, and you're just like,
yeah,
rah.
a big green guy just come out. But yeah, it's and so I'm very, when I get like this is interesting because when I do get like this, I recognize that. And where this kind of sounds, I've learned to slow down my thought process and get very self-aware in that sense of like, I have to be careful here that I don't, I mean, not on this podcast, but I'm just saying, and just in general, that I don't take all the things that I'm feeling and project it onto something or someone else. And because I know myself, and I'll have I've had tendency to do that my whole life, but as I would say a lot of people do, but I've learned to kind of take a step back and just analyze things before I go there, and that's the reason usually in these situations, unless there's a really really good reason and it's definitely warranted, I won't say much because even like this morning when I finally got back to the yard, meaning where I work at, and get my personal vehicle and come home, my first thought was, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to find somebody who's in charge and I'm going to light their ass up. I'm not lying. That was
I
my
can
first
hear
thought
you. I can hear you.
because my one of my stipulations about this overnight job is that I get home in time, usually at 6 a.m. to get up with the kids, help them get ready, do all the things because I like that interaction. Walk them down to the bus and or to the end of our driveway to get on the bus and all this kind of stuff. Well, that usually starts at 6. They're usually on the bus about 7. I didn't pull in our driveway until like 6:45. And yeah, which now to be honest, that's it's not going to happen often, or me and somebody's going to have an unpleasant conversation. And I'm going to make damn sure that it's unpleasant because I'm not going to do that. As you can tell, I'm artist. but but I mean, but that's the priority is because I took this local position because of that, and that's a non-negotiable for me. But at the same time, thinking about that this morning, I'm like, okay, probably not the best time to talk to somebody because there's probably going to be a whole lot of other stuff tagged onto it that's not necessary. And you know
Self-reflection. Good job,
yeah,
Daniel.
yeah, and it could be dangerous, and all the things. And like I'm not job scared as far as being fired or nothing like that because yeah, I'm damn good at what I do. But it's just that thing of I don't want to act out of an emotion that's not necessarily warranted in the moment, right? So
Yeah.
it's probably going to be a conversation to be had, but I want to make sure that I'm rested up, I'm level headed, and then I don't mind confrontation, but I just want it to be a healthy confrontation. And anything that I say is warranted and needs to be said, and not a bunch of other shit that doesn't.
Wouldn't you agree though? Like I used to act on all emotions. That was never a thought until I started, until honestly that I tapped into this business, the hypnosis side of things, the self-reflective side of things. Like I am so careful now of reacting on emotions. I'm like, okay, where am I at in this emotion? Like, how's this going to benefit me? Because, like you said, when you have like high emotions and you want to confront something, all these other things come into play that aren't necessarily for that time and space. And I think there's a freedom in that. I don't know. It feels really good to go into arguments more level-headed without all the high or low emotions versus before when I used to do that. And then I would be done arguing my point and then I would feel not great. And I
well,
never understood why. I never
well,
understood why.
it's interesting to say it because I didn't either because I was very much the same way. But one of the things that I've learned is that and I've done this too, but I've got a friend of mine who still does this. And anytime that he has to, or anytime there's a confrontation to be had, he can't really say anything unless he gets really worked up.
Hmm.
And seeing that myself, and then seeing it with other people and stuff like that, I thought to myself, what is it? Because I'm naturally curious, especially about the mind. I thought, what is it about that almost feels like there has to be a almost out of control emotion in order to be confrontive, set a boundary, and things like that. And then that little piece hit me is that if you have to work yourself up to actually be able to set a boundary or have a standard or even have a confrontational conversation, if you will, with somebody, that's generally because you don't know how to set boundaries. And more oftentimes than not, you're going to trace that back to a self worth issue
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
those of us who have done it and those who still do, oftentimes you can trace that back to, I know I need to say something, but do I feel good enough? am I worth having this conversation? If I have a confrontational thing with this person, then they may not see me as worth anything anymore, good enough, or there's a lot of that thing of like, do I really have a right to set a boundary? Shouldn't I just let them run over me because they're better than I am? What if I need them? I don't want to feel rejected. I don't want to feel like they don't want me around anymore, or and all this. There's all that kind of stuff tied in there, but there's a lot of that that I, and even talking to my friend, because me and him have had deeper conversations, but um, that was one of the things that I picked up on with him, and he really confirmed that to be true. Is that oftentimes that emotional response to be confrontational is because you have to get there, you have to get worked up before you have that courage to say something instead of just, and that's one of the things that I noticed that when I, like you, when I started dealing with my own self-worth issues, getting into hypnosis and all this, it became easier and easier to just be like, hey, you're doing this and I don't like it. You're crossing this line with me and that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, when I started doing that, the emotional responses, the out of control emotional responses, started getting less and less and less. And I didn't feel that need to be like, I've got to explode before I can say this thing. So,
I love this because my beautiful friend, Miss Lori Hammond, who's also a hypnotist, she sent me a reel this morning and it was with Drew Barrymore, and I don't know the other guy. I just remember Drew being on there. And we all know she talks a lot about mental health. And in there, he was describing. Now, I'm going to try to get this right because obviously I'm not feeling good. So my mind's not firing on all cylinders. But he he said, we start our lives looking to love someone, to support someone. And it followed through with obviously, and I preach this to my clients, but the key is to love and support yourself first. And then he said this: loving yourself is not a feeling. Loving yourself is an action. And this is what I love so much because I don't remember thinking of it this way. And he's like, so just because you don't feel like you love yourself by taking the appropriate actions to have your own back and to care for yourself. That's loving yourself. And eventually you'll start to like yourself and it'll all unfold together. And I just thought that was so freaking profound. I'm like, have I heard this before? And I just didn't absorb it because I could see that happening because we need to hear something like what 10 to 20 times before we actually absorb it sometimes. Um, but I was just like, so I'm like, oh, so I guess I love myself way more than I thought that I do because I'm always, what can you do for yourself today? Like, you deserve good. Like, I'm always doing really good self talk. I mean, the negative stuff creeps in and we battle it, tell it to go away. It's not necessarily all the things, but yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. It just felt like
yeah,
another piece of freedom.
it's interesting that you say it because I know um, sometimes working, and it's something I just caught one day in while in conversation with somebody, and I don't even think they were like officially a client. I think it was even before, right before the hypnosis thing that I started doing this, but uh, I'll still do this. Is when I'm helping with somebody, right, client, friend, or whatever, and if I start to kind of pick up on the maybe the possibility that they're having some self-worth issues, self-love issues, things like that, I'll ask this question. I'll say, tell me something really good about yourself. Tell me something you really like about yourself.
I
And it
just
doesn't,
posted this in my women's group this morning. What's something you love about yourself? It's fun to watch the responses.
Well, and one of the things that I started picking up on and just paying attention to the data, right, is people who often struggle with those self-worth issues and having love for yourself and things like that, most of the time their first response is going to be something good about themselves is what they do for other people.
Yep, I
And
noticed
and
that.
and I started seeing that as a pattern of people who have that mentality of like, oh well, I'm a really good coworker because I bring coffee to everybody in the morning. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying though is that when that's your go-to for something good about you, that can be, and there's nothing wrong with liking that, but what I'm saying is that can be kind of an indicator that you have some of those, that mentality of like, I'm only as good as the last thing I did for somebody else.
That's because that's what so many people were taught.
Yeah, and like I have to constantly, and look, I had this mindset. I mean, that's where that's the reason why
Yeah,
I'm such a proponent of hypnosis is because this changed this for me for the first 45 years of my life. I was very, very, very much this way, that I was only as good as the last thing I did for somebody else. And then going and once I started seeing that being, kind of chipping away at that and seeing myself as deserving of good things and worth love and loving myself and just me seeing myself as having a level of self-worth, you know and I can sit here and say, I love my compassion. I love the fact that I cry at commercials because if something super emotional happens, I'm okay with that. I love the fact that I can, you know be as a man, be hard but also be very empathetic and very soft. And I love my drive and my motivation to do things and take care of my body. And, those things I can say that I just love about me. And before I couldn't say that. One of my favorite things about me is my intuition, my
mm,
ability, my ability to be very, very intuitive. I can pick up on so many things around me. And one of the things I'll say this right here, just as a and I'm going here purposely because this is something I want to see. I want people to hear and see in action. And that is, I've had a lot of different jobs over my life. And I mean a lot. And often that's looked at as a negative thing, as a criticism. Oh, you're just not dedicated. Well, I am dedicated. I'm dedicated to me because
mhm.
I mean, being honest, I love learning new things. I love developing new skills. It's something I've always been that way and used to as a criticism. So I would kind of hide that about myself of like, well, I don't want to tell people how many jobs I've had because they may think bad of me. And now I'm like, I've had this many jobs because, and I mean, I've lost count. Like, but I mean, I've done everything, truck driving, painting water tanks, textiles plant, um, all kinds. I've done a little bit of everything, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with me. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not, I love my mentality. I love the way I'm always going after new things, and yeah, I have a great learning curve, and I'm proud as hell of that. So,
Well, you should be. Like you
I
shared
don't
some of
care
your
what you
history
think
with
about me, but
me.
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I don't even have anything smart to say right now.
know,
My
I know. You can
wig
tell
is
she's
not
sick
on.
because usually there's like this snippy come back and get the finger or something. I don't know.
Talking about jobs, it's like when I was married to the father of my children, we had a dairy farm And so I pretty much raised my kids, and with the farm, he wasn't around a lot. I mean, it was just, it goes back and forth if you know farm life. I mean, but my point is, one time I sat down and I figured all the things that I did as a mom and I listed them out. Like it was astronomical. And I can honestly say that I learned so much just from being a mom and having that role because I mean, we were a farm family and we had four kids. Like I I cut their hair. I taught myself how to cut their hair. I was a chauffeur. I mean, I if the pipes were clogged and under the sink, I took them apart and cleaned them out and put them back together. I mean, the list was astronomical. It's been a while since I've actually thought about it. But there was like a list of 22 different labels that I could give myself at one point in time just from being a mom. It might have even been more, but um it was crazy. And I think about all the things that, I had to learn just from being at a mom and, you know, I don't know, going over and milking the cows or feeding the calves or unloading hay or straw to taking care of the lawn to I would never touch electrical though. That's one thing I would never experiment with. I didn't feel the need to get zapped. But I did do a lot of other, you know,
But you liked energy work.
DIYs.
Horrible
Don't make
joke.
me
I'm
laugh
sorry.
too hard. I'll start coughing and I won't stop. Oh my gosh. But yeah, crazy stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's been crazy though. I'm really happy that we're doing this episode. I'm really looking forward to what we had planned for this week though. Um I forgot exactly. Using being misunderstood as your superpower. I think that's what we were going to do this week. So we'll do that next week. And I'm kind of excited for it because I think I need to master that myself. So I do.
Yeah.
I know I do because, you know,
Well, and I just hit on some of that about liking those things about you, like that me having the multiple jobs, right? Liking some of those things about you that maybe culturally are not celebrated. So that's always, to me, it's, yeah, digging down on those things about why and what's going on deep in the mind is usually where I have a tendency to go and love to go. And by the way, being a stay-at-home mom and farmer at the same time as well, um, that is no small task because
yeah,
the
I don't
pressure of raising a human being
pour.
from right from you know starting in the womb all the way out here being an adult, which from what you shared with me, all your kids, the things I've seen and stuff like that is fabulous people.
They
And
are. I'm very blessed. I have like even my kids, they all are connected. They're all really close. And I just feel very blessed because a lot of times it's common for there to be one that feels like an outsider or one that can't get along with any of the others, or there's always some kind of a break somewhere. And I'm very blessed and fortunate that my kids are so close. And I keep encouraging them, like, you guys, you have each other. Don't let anything ever come between you
yep,
because this is a
same
beautiful
here.
gift and you know what else? Every single one of them absolutely loves farming. I'm
Naturally.
like,
Well,
actually,
and
that's
and and
really,
and that's such an interesting, but kudos to you for that, because which we know this as hypnotists, but oftentimes your belief systems and things like that are values and belief systems and just your overall thinking process is really, really developed during that kind of 7 year range, give or take a few of those years around there, probably somewhere like that 5 year old to 10-year-old range. A lot of your thought processes and values and core beliefs are developed during those times.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you for displaying that in a positive light and them catching that and seeing how much they love that and actually being okay with it. I mean, is that making sense why I'm saying that?
Yeah, a lot of them didn't like my son couldn't actually go on the farm when he was little. He couldn't even go outside to play because he had such severe airborne allergies. If he was outside for 3 minutes in the summer, if there was hay anywhere, and we were surrounded by hay fields, he would come in with a face blown up. And, it was a really scary, scary thing. So the fact that he's come so far,
And you've navigated
so
that, but you've navigated that well. So I'm just saying, like, kudos to
yeah,
you
thank
for.
you. Thank you. You're so kind most of the time. Look at me being nice on the podcast. This is
I know
dangerous.
she
Shit.
is sick. I mean, something's definitely off. You know what
Oh, yeah, kind of actually. I'm displaying
I
kindness to
mean?
Daniel in the podcast. You
Yeah,
guys all better record this
yeah,
because
super weird. I'm glad I'm recording this. I'm gonna take this little snippet out. I'm gonna post it everywhere on forever. You know,
I always have to get you back for all this shit you say to me, but you're being nice, so I got to be nice back. I have it in me today.
oh, well,
The
well. Here's to
nice.
hoping you get sick more often. Kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, so I think all in all, just when life gets you down and you got those struggles, you really need to pay attention to what you're saying to yourself and your mindset and celebrate those small wins because it's like so freaking easy to just get down in the dumps. I mean, I was comparing how sick I've been and how that would have impacted me like years ago because I've had my bouts of being sick to the point where I've almost died a few times. And and it's hard to get through that stuff. It really is. It's really hard to get through that stuff. So your mindset is important, but also honoring how you feel, finding that healthy balance. And when you got that bullshit work stuff going on like Daniel, be confident in yourself
Oh
and your
shit. Sorry, I had to emphasize that. Anyway,
be confident in yourself, if you know that you're doing a good job at work and you need to say something, wait for that emotional regulation till you're
yeah,
grounded and then handle well, even in anything. Don't address. I always tell my clients that it's in your best interest not to address anything when you're on high or low emotion. I'm getting
yep.
winded. So,
But yeah, it's same here. Is that just, and again, even me and you doing this today was show up for yourself, even if it's
yeah.
even if it's late. Show up for yourself. Keep those promises you make to yourself because it does give you kind of that boost of the feel goods, right? Of the
Yeah.
the oh wow, I actually did this thing even though I didn't feel like it, didn't want to. Yeah, and again, like with you, Jamie, it's for good reason. but but still, showing up for yourself definitely kind of gives that boost of just feeling good and just kind of maybe
we
producing some good
need
emotion.
we need to feel productive as humans because if we don't feel productive as humans, like our self of like the whole morale thing just goes down the tube. So it's like really important to just like tap into the thing of no matter how, like your successes don't have to be the biggest wins of the day. They don't have to be something really huge. Make it something small. Hey, I spoke kind to myself today. That that can be a huge thing.
Well, and
Um,
looking forward, I mean, we're built that way. I mean, you think about it, our feet face forward, our head face forward. I mean, when we walk, our arms swing forward. We're forward. We're built to be looking forward all the time. That's how humans are meant to be. So when you kind of get out of character with that, it's it can often produce those negative and unproductive type feelings, which we also both know that even just negative emotions can affect your physical health and
Oh yeah.
manifest in a physical way in the body. So
Yeah. Take that moment, honor how you feel if it's shitty, and then decide how long you're going to stay there and then move on and start talking good to yourself. So now I just have to figure out what are we going to label this podcast as? Because it's really just a hodgepodge full of a whole bunch of stuff. So, anyways,
well, we can name it this: what to do when you feel like shit.
that's a good idea, actually. It's pretty simple.
That's the moment I'm having. I don't know. um,
Oh,
yeah, I mean
yeah.
it's you know um great episode though. I've enjoyed talking
Yeah.
about this and hammering
Yeah.
out
I
some of this
think,
stuff.
I think it's real life stuff that, could help support people. So, thank you so
Yeah.
much for tuning in. And I just need to say thank you so much to all my clients, for all of you that listen, for all the patience that you have had with me in this time, because it's really hard to have to put it off. But I also want to give you all the best quality service. And yeah, so thank you all for your patience. And I'll be back on track real quick here. So I feel like I'm coming over the edge, starting to liven up a little bit. So,
Yay,
and
you'll be
thank
back to your smart ass hateful self. So excited. Anyway.
hardly hateful, but nice try, Daniel. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in. And
My camera keeps going out of focus. I don't know what's going on with that. That's weird.
it's because you're talking shit. The universe is saying, oh, we're going to block his ass. There you go. Is that what you're looking for?
And she's back.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you so, so much.
And yes, just to head this off, speaking of the physical thing, I am still hosting a free workshop slash live hypnosis event every Sunday. I've been toying with the time. I think I'm going to push back the time a little bit later to 7 p.m. Eastern time. This usually goes about 60 to 90 minutes. I talk about the core foundations of weight loss, and then we actually go into a group hypnosis session is live over Zoom, but we go into a group hypnosis session where I guide you through hypnosis to begin to lose weight. This is a process that I have used and I've used with other clients and have seen success multiple times, and it's such a unique process. But I dive into all that on the actual thing, and there's a few bonuses that you get along the way as showing up and being a part of it. I will put a link to sign up for it, and so you can get the Zoom link and show up live. And so, yeah, if you're ready to start dropping some weight even before you start dieting, sign up. It's free. And no, I won't hammer you with it's not a sales pitch. you know, if, maybe I should, but I don't even know that I uh, to date have even said anything about I mean I do see one-to-one clients, but I don't think I've ever said even on that because I get very focused on showing up and giving that value. So but yeah, it's not a sales pitch and it's you'll definitely get something from it. I've gotten really good feedback and I've did it with a smaller group as I'm just launching this. So um yeah, so putting it out there and link will be in the description. So come on over, see what happens.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening.